Okay, so I've been using the 4060 for over a year now, and I'm gonna give you my honest review on it. The benchmarks I recorded today are on 1440p and Fortnite and in the finals. And I know I could have downloaded other popular games like Valorant, GTA 5, and CS2 and all those popular games. But Cyberpunk requires money. GTA also requires money, and I have to download other games, and I'm too lazy to do that. I already have Fortnite and the finals already installed, so you're stuck with those two games today. Fortnite and the finals both support DLSS and RTX, so like ray tracing and stuff. So you can just translate the performance I get in those games to other games if you want to. And keep in mind that I know that the 4060 only has 8 GB of VRAM, and I'm running it on 1440p. So, and you might be wondering, like, why do you get a 1440p monitor then if you have a 4060? It's because I wanted to, and I wanted to test it out. But just keep in mind that the frames that you see today on 1440p will not be as good as 1080p. So if you have a 1080p monitor and you're like looking at this and thinking like the 4060 is gonna be ass, just keep in mind that that it's meant for 1080p, and 1080p is way easier to run on than 1440p. So just like take my results and like just like to convert into 1080p, just think that you get like 1.5x more frames at 1080p than at 1440p. But in games like Fortnite and performance mode, you can get easily like 1000 FPS on a 4060. But other than that, I'll show you my benchmarks and what I think of each game in each setting. Okay, so this is Fortnite competitive mode setting. Okay, so these are the settings that I play with. They're really competitive. They're like super low, and just to get the max FPS possible. So on my spawn island, you can see like the lows, like the 1% lows are like pretty bad. But overall, I think the average FPS is like really good. It's like 500, 400, something like that. On the ground, it's like still like really good, and then just the 1% lows, that's bad. Now I capped it at 185 frames because my monitor is 185 hertz refresh rate, so that's why it's capped like that. But you can see how the monitor usage went down dramatically, and also how better the 1% low frames are, and also the less usage your GPU has, the better of input delay you'll feel. So that's why many pros just cap their shit like that. And I'm also using RTSS because of a YouTuber named Necron. Now I switched over to DX12 all low settings. So keep in mind that DX12 is a rendering platform that the more games that you run on it, the better it performs. So like this is probably my like second or third game with DX12. So this is the frames that you'll see with it. But the more you play on DX12, the better it performs. You can see that I'm getting like 300 frames, 200 frames, basically like that. Still really good. Now I switched over to epic settings on DX12. This is like the highest settings that doesn't have ray tracing. So this is what you'll see like if you have like everything on ultra high but no ray tracing. And you can see my FPS dramatically tanks. I mean, you might be wondering like, why didn't you do DX11? I didn't do DX11 because performance mode actually runs in DX11. So if you play on DX11, you basically should just play on performance mode. And look how good my game looks. It never looked this good before. So I turned on ray tracing, and this is the FPS that you'll see in a little bit when my dumbass stops scrolling through the menu. You can see how little frames I get. This is basically less than console frames. If you're on console, you get literally 60 FPS. I'm getting literally 30. So if you see me dancing half the time during my videos, it's because I'm resetting the software that records it so that you get the best 1% lows that you actually. Okay, so this is when I turn on the DLSS quality. There was no performance or anything like or balance option like that. So this is me scrolling through the settings. Same settings as before. It's just on DLSS, and you can see I think I get a little bit more frames. I don't know, it's like barely even noticeable. You get like what 10 or 20 more frames, but it's like super stuttery and just retarded as shit. I think it was super stuttery in my last and the other one too as well. So you can see a little bit more FPS, but just not worth it. Okay, now I switched over to the finals. So this is what it looks like. Low settings, everything low, no RT, no upscaling. It's just the raw GPU performance, no like upscaling helping. So I barely play the finals, so my gameplay is gonna look horrible. So this is a team deathmatch, thank God, because if it was like actually important, then I'll be like fucking up my team over. But it's just deathmatch, so it doesn't really matter. So you can see I'm just walking through everything. So it gets like 140 frames. Now I'm using DLSS performance mode, low settings like before. See how much frames I get. So you get like 30% more frames, not 30%, but 30 more frames on performance with DLSS. So if you like don't mind the extra input lag, I didn't really feel any input lag difference, but maybe because I'm just ass at the game, but it was a little bit better. Now I switched over to Epic settings, RT on DLSS performance. So let's see how much frames I get on this one. So it does make the frames go down by like 40 frames. So not as bad as Fortnite when you see when I turn on Epic settings and RT on, it just crashes the FPS. But this one's like actually like semi-playable. So I'm getting like close to 100 FPS, so it's not that bad. But this one's the same settings as before, everything Epic. So this one, it's like a really short benchmark, but I'm too lazy to run another one, so you just have to deal with how much FPS I get on this one. So it's DLSS balance instead of performance. I also like to just play on balance because you get the same amount. Now this one I turn into DLSS quality, so we can see how much FPS I get on this one. So you basically take like a 20 frame drop from switching from balance to quality, and so you get like the most amount of FPS of DLSS performance, but it does cost on like the quality and how good of a image quality you see. Now this one I put it to DLSS auto mode, so I think I get like more FPS on this mode. Actually, you get about the same. Actually, you get like a smooth console 60 FPS on DLSS auto, and the image quality, it looks pretty good to me. So I think you should play on auto or performance or balance. So I think that's the best ones. This one is DLSS DLAA. So I'm not really sure what it really does, but in the settings it was like rendered at 4040p and then upscaled to 4040p. So I'm pretty sure there's like no like quality loss at all, but it's still DLSS. So you get like the least amount of frames on this one, but you also get like the best looking picture quality that you can get on DLSS. So there's a trade-off. Now what's cool about the finals is that they have multi-frame gen. So this is a 4060, so it only has 2x. So this is a frame gen auto. The next one I'm gonna show is frame gen 2x. So you can see that I'm getting like almost 120 frames. Okay, this one is the 2x option on frame gen. So keep in mind that this will increase your input lag, but I didn't really feel that much. But then this is a 4060, so there's no 3x, 4x, and all that stuff on like the 50 series. So you can see that I'm kind of getting less FPS compared to the frame gen auto, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure. Maybe because I'm like on a different part of the map, but I'm still getting pretty good FPS considering that I'm like Epic set. Moving on to, do I think 8 GB is enough? And especially in 2025. So keep in mind that I'm a dumbass. I'm not smart enough to know all about GPUs and the PCs and all that stuff. I'm just gonna tell you what I think and what I saw. So 8 GB is enough if you only play competitive games like the finals and Fortnite and all that games, like really low settings. On games that are like really easy to drive, like a CS2 and Valorant, those type of games. And you saw me push above 240 frames in Fortnite and in performance mode in 4040p with a 4060, and it barely went above 2 GB of VRAM on performance mode in Fortnite. But then once you saw me crank up the settings to the max, it basically hit the VRAM limit of 7 GB and stuff. So basically like right up to the 8 GB VRAM limit. I know it's common sense, like of course if you increase the graphics in the game, the more revamp it's gonna take up. But I'm just saying that if you want to play Fortnite, like exclusively Fortnite, you don't have like time for like single player games and all that stuff, and you just want to play shooter games at the highest frames possible, then I don't think you really need that much of an expensive GPU, because you're gonna just run the game at super low settings. So I think a 4060 is enough for those type of people. But if let's say you're like a heavy gamer and like you want to play other games other than just strictly competitive, like you want to play like I don't know, like the new GTA 6 that's gonna come out in like 1 year or maybe in the next 10 years because it's never gonna fucking come out. And a 4060 is probably gonna get what, like 30 frames on 4040p medium settings basically. I don't know, I'm just assuming, but probably not. If you want to play those type of games, you need like a 5070 or 4070, like the 70 tier class cards and all that shit. Of course, you should save as much money as you can to buy a GPU. So I know like it's like stupid saying like buy once cry later or whatever, because that's what the Nvidia founder, not just founder, the Nvidia CEO said. Like what was like, the more you buy, the more you save. It's like kind of true, also not true, because they fucking make the GPU so fucking expensive, so it's super annoying like that. But it is kind of true. The more money you save up and you can able to buy the higher tier cards, the less likely you're gonna want to upgrade. So I feel like I messed up and that I should have just maybe waited for the 50 class cards to come out. But then again, I was like, that was just back then. I barely didn't even have a PC. I just wanted like the latest and greatest thing. Not latest and greatest thing, but I just wanted a PC to be able to like play games and shit. So that's why I just like bought the cheapest card that I could find from the video and all that stuff. And if I save enough money and just got like the 4070 or the 4080 or whatever, those type of cards, I will not feel the need to upgrade right now. So when I want to upgrade to a 5070, but I'll upgrade to a 4070 when I hit 500 subscribers on YouTube, so please help me out on that. I want to feel the need to upgrade right now. So if you're like in the same shoes as I was, like you want to get a 60 class card, right? So if you're gonna spend $300 on a card anyways, you might as well just save up another $250 and just buy the 5070. Is like the 5070 is like at MRSP, I'm pretty sure, on Best Buy, and it's a pretty good deal. And I know it's 12 gigabytes of VRAM, but if you're on 1080p and you have a 5070, you're barely gonna take up anything anywhere near close to that. But if you're on 4040p, it's gonna be kind of hitting the limit, but you still have a lot of headroom. So just get like the most expensive card that you can buy right now, so that you can like in the long run not have to feel the need to upgrade. But that's just my opinion. There's probably someone smarter than me in the comments probably gonna like mention how wrong I am. So if you think that I'm wrong, you can leave in the comments below and like we can like talk more about it and shit. In conclusion, is the 4060 still good in 2025 with 8 gigabytes of RAM? It's kind of decent. I'm not saying like it's the best thing ever, but you saw me run it. You saw me run games at 4040p, and 8 gigabytes is barely enough for 4040p right now. But and also I ran it on competitive games that are like pretty well optimized. If you like try to play if you try to use a 4060 on like unoptimized games that came straight from the PS5, you're gonna have a way harder time. And so just keep that in mind. You can find like other benchmarks on YouTube and stuff, but for me right now, since I only play like competitive games, it's really good because I don't need that much VRAM, I don't need that much graphics and stuff. Don't get scammed by people trying to sell the 4060 used for higher than $300. When it first came out, it was $300, and then what, 2 years later you're selling it more than $300? That's so stupid. Like why would eBay people sell it like that? That's so dumb. And then so like in conclusion, like overall, if you're planning to stick to 1080p forever, like you don't feel yourself ever feeling the need to upgrade to 4040p or 4K in that thing, and you only exclusively play competitive games, like you don't even see yourself touching a single player game ever, then the 4060 is enough for you. It's enough to get you into the door of PC gaming and stuff. It's a budget card, even though $300 isn't really that budget, but it's a good card for what its purpose is. But if you want to, like if you see yourself in the future upgrading from 1080p to 4040p, then I'll suggest you get a card that's more expensive, like the 5070 right now. And like you like to run games on really high graphics, then the 4060 will not be enough for you in that aspect. But if you just need a card that can run Fortnite at above 240 frames, then 4060 will do that. So at the end of the day, is it worth it? Yes. If this video helped you, please subscribe, and you can support me using the links in the description below.